Have you ever wondered where the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place? Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your host, Brian Berneman, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world. We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers. From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Welcome to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host. And for this episode, I wanted to explore the understanding and the importance of coming back to our bodies, of understanding the messages from our bodies, how our bodies talk to us, so that then we're able to have a relationship with that so that we stay well. Now, I'm going to go a little bit forward and back with this so that I can get this as I want to share it. When we have imbalances in our system and we are not listening, we don't pay attention because perhaps we didn't learn or we don't know how to do that. Our body will show us in a more physical way. So this is how most of our illnesses show up. This is how most of our sicknesses show up in the body, because there's some imbalance energetically, and that is transformed into a physical imbalance. So I'm going to use my experience. When I was younger, I didn't know at all how to be in touch with my body. I wasn't taught, I wasn't shown, I wasn't modeled what it's like to actually be in the body, be in my own presence, understand my feelings and sensations, and understand the energy and the energy being that I am, understand the different layers. And I talked about this on a previous podcast episode as well, of all of my different aspects and how to be with all of them at the same time, so I can develop a better relationship with myself. So when we are going about our lives and we don't know how our body speaks to us and how energy is showing us that it's either balanced or unbalanced, and guess what? Majority of us are living a very imbalanced life based on our circumstances, our education, our programming and conditioning, as well as everything that came before us. So we are, as I have talked in the past as well, we have things that came from our past lives, our ancestors, things that come from before we are even born, that are the ways that we are behaving and conducting ourselves through those lenses and those ways, plus all of our childhood conditioning and trauma. All of that shows up in how we are living. When we are able to take responsibility and we're able to understand how important it is to recognize how that is happening, why that is happening, and most importantly, what it is that is happening at this moment, without the attachment to the reason of why that is there. And we're able to bring back our energy and our being to a place of balance. Everything else in the physical starts to flow differently, because the physical is a materialization of everything that is energetic. We are both living in a 3D world here, a physical world where I can touch and I can see that I have a body. And on another level, there's just energy. There's no such thing as hands. There's no such thing as my shoulders that I'm touching right now. Because if I look through a microscope, I will never find that. I will just find, energy flowing. So the more that I can coexist in these different worlds and I can understand this, I can understand the importance of working through the energy perspective. This is why I fell in love with energy work. This is why I share energy work and I have worked with hundreds and thousands of people with this, because it's such a great way of understanding how to create changes. Because changes don't need to actually be done with lots of effort, taking a lot of time. It can be, if that is what we want, it can be like that. So easy to make changes when we work through the energy perspective. When I work, for example, in a family constellation session or in a sound healing or in a Reiki session, sometimes things that someone has been working through or coping with for many, many years, after the session, that's it. There's a balance that is brought back. There's a vibrational change that takes place. When we change that, we start to also, in a sense, change the belief that we're holding. Because if we're holding a certain belief, that is what we are creating. If I believe that I am capable of getting sick, then guess what? There's many more chances for me to get sick. How? That's, the universe will provide how I'm going to get sick. But I'm opening that door. The same with growing old. I have been meditating and working through the last 3 years, more or less, on rewiring the notion that we as humans grow old and our bodies deteriorate. Why is that? Because we believe it and we see it in other people. But guess what? Those people also believe that. Therefore, it's happening for them. I heard recently in one of the meditations that I was doing that it is as if there is this blueprint that is perfect, but based on our beliefs. What happens every time that the cell changes is that instead of it being a perfect copy of what came before, it is as if we're using a photocopy machine and we make a copy, but instead of the next time making a copy of that original one, we're making a copy of the other copy. So we're using the first copied page. We use that as what we are actually copying. And therefore, every time that we're doing that, we are losing a little bit of its original perfection. When we're able to understand this and question this, as well as working energetically, we start to change our physical reality. It is so interesting for me how we can get so caught up with the physical reality in terms of someone is experiencing something, an illness, and they go and see the doctors and they take pills and they everything. And I'm not saying that's bad. Everybody can choose whatever they choose. We can actually go into whatever it is that is there and see why is that there. What in my experience is actually not balanced so that that is showing up. It is as if there's been someone knocking on the door, and because I didn't know how to listen, suddenly they start knocking a little bit louder and louder and louder until that shows up in different types of illnesses. When we have that, it's kind of like the body saying, you haven't been listening to me, now you will listen to me, definitely, because either you're going to be in a lot of pain or you're going to be bedridden or whatever it is that is going to happen. So in those moments, it's when we can also use this going to our bodies, working energetically, working with our beliefs, asking that imbalance that is showing up physically, why it is there, what it is that it's showing us, what it is that we haven't been wanting to see, what it is that we didn't want to feel or experience. Our bodies are amazing. They protect us so much and they have these amazing mechanisms. But sometimes they're old mechanisms that no longer serve us. So we need to update that. We need to make an upgrade, just like we do with our phones and the computers. We need to do the same with our phone, with our bodies, and with our minds. So we need to understand that. So I encourage always everyone, just like I did, and I was fortunate to do this when I was a teenager, to come back to the body, to make sure that we develop our relationship with our bodies, that we take the time and the space to get more familiar with all the parts of our bodies, with how we experience feelings, sensations, how we experience energy. And therefore, we're more attuned to understanding when there's some imbalance in our energy system, when there's not energy in alignment. When we notice that, it is easier to prevent things from happening. So I encourage you, as you're listening to this, to see if you have enough of a relationship with your body, enough of a relationship with being in the present moment, with what is, with the energy, with the openness to working through things energetically, to creating the changes that are needed from an energy perspective, and then allowing that by itself to make the changes physically, to make the changes mentally, to change our beliefs, to change our patterns of behavior. So I would love to know for you, if you're listening to this, just leave us a comment, whatever it is that you're finding this. What is your relationship to your body like? Do you do any body practices? For me, it was Tibetan yoga. It was energy work, what allowed me to be more connected. How, anytime that you are experiencing some sickness or illness, how do you go about being with it? Do you try to manage it in one way? Are you working with it energetically? So I'm really curious to know what this experience is like for you. And thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Bye!
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.